Let's jump right into one of the most mind-blowing surprises in all of history. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're diving straight into the incredible events of Genesis chapter 45. We're talking wild twists, massive emotions, and a secret so enormous it literally changed the world.
So, think about this for a second. Have you ever had to keep a huge secret? I mean, a really massive one? Well, imagine holding on to a secret that big while standing right in front of your very own brothers, and they have absolutely no idea it's you. That is exactly where Joseph finds himself. He's this incredibly powerful ruler in Egypt now, dressed in the fanciest clothes imaginable. But inside, his heart is pounding out of his chest because the brothers who sold him away years ago are standing right there.
The suspense here is just off the charts. Joseph literally couldn't hold his feelings in for another second. He suddenly shouts out, "Get everybody away from me." He urgently clears the entire room, sending all his Egyptian guards and attendants out, just so he can be completely alone with his brothers for what's about to happen.
And then, boom! He breaks down and weeps so loudly that the sound actually echoes all the way to Pharaoh's palace. He looks right at his brothers and drops the ultimate bombshell. "I am Joseph. Is it true that my father is still alive?" Now, his brothers, they are totally dumbfounded. Imagine absolute shock just freezing their faces. They couldn't even mutter a single word. Their jaws literally hit the floor. Now, you might be thinking Joseph would be furious, right? After all, what they did to him, selling him into slavery, was horrific. But instead, Joseph tells them not to be sad or angry at themselves. How crazy is that? He realized something amazing. God was actually using their terrible actions to set up a giant rescue mission. He tells them, "God sent me ahead of you to preserve life." So why did they need this massive rescue mission in the first place? Well, Joseph explains that the terrible famine, a time when absolutely no food grows, had already been going on for 2 years. And the scary part? There were still 5 long, hungry years left with zero plowing or harvesting. They desperately needed a hero, and God had placed Joseph in the exact spot he needed to be.
This perfectly illustrates a really powerful, superpower-level concept, divine providence. You see, the moral of Genesis 45 is that divine providence and forgiveness can turn evil actions into salvation. It really demonstrates that God's purpose often works through human dysfunction to produce good. Even when people mess up big time, God's unseen, loving plan is still working behind the scenes to save the day.
Okay, so once the brothers finally wrapped their heads around all this, there was absolutely no time to lose. Joseph urgently commands them, saying, "Hurry, go up to my father." He wants them racing back as fast as humanly possible to tell Jacob the unbelievable news that God had made his long-lost son the ruler over the entire land of Egypt.
And Joseph didn't just have news, he had an epic master plan, the rescue plan. He tells his brothers to pack up the entire family, kids, grandkids, flocks, herds, the whole shebang, and move down to the beautiful, lush land of Goshen. He promised to personally provide for all of them for the next 5 years so they wouldn't face poverty and starvation.
What happens next is just beautiful, and it truly shows the pure forgiveness in Joseph's heart. He throws his arms around his youngest brother, Benjamin, and they both cry these incredible happy tears. He goes around and kisses all his brothers, weeping over every single one of them. After years and years of hurt, they were finally able to just sit down and talk together as a family. Well, news this big definitely doesn't stay a secret for long. The exciting report quickly reached the palace. Joseph's brothers have come. And Pharaoh and his servants, they were absolutely thrilled. They loved and respected Joseph so much that their immediate reaction was, "How can we help?"
Remember, Pharaoh is the king of Egypt. He's got massive wealth and power. So he steps in and orders the brothers to take Egyptian wagons to safely carry their wives and little ones. And he gives them the greatest instruction ever. He says, "Don't even worry about your stuff. Leave your old things behind, because the absolute best of everything in the land of Egypt is now yours."
Talk about hitting the jackpot, right? Joseph loads his brothers up with the most epic gifts. He gives them the wagons, plenty of travel food, and a brand new set of clothes for every single one of them. But for his little brother Benjamin, he goes all out. He gives him a whopping 7.5 pounds of silver and 5 whole sets of new clothes.
And of course, there was no way he was forgetting about his beloved dad. Joseph sends his father, Jacob, an unbelievably impressive convoy of 20 donkeys. 10 of them were packed to the brim with the absolute finest goods Egypt had to offer, and 10 female donkeys were loaded down with grain, bread, and tons of delicious food to keep his dad well fed on the long journey back.
Now, as he's sending them off on this amazing trip home, Joseph gives them one last piece of advice. And honestly, it's pretty funny because he clearly knows his brothers well. He tells them, don't quarrel among yourselves while you're traveling. Basically, he's saying, guys, whatever you do, please don't fight in the back seat on this road trip.
So they pack up their shiny new Egyptian wagons, travel up and out of Egypt, and cross over into the rolling hills of Canaan. You can only imagine the anticipation building. Finally, after what had to feel like the longest but most exciting journey of their entire lives, they arrive back at the tents of their father, Jacob. Picture this scene. They come running into the tent, totally out of breath, and they just shout the unbelievable news. Joseph is still alive. He is ruler over the whole land of Egypt. Jacob is completely stunned. He probably felt like he was having a crazy dream. At first, his brain just couldn't even process what he was hearing. But then, Jacob steps outside the tent. And what does he see right in front of him? Massive, royal Egyptian wagons with sparkling wheels sent specifically to carry him. They tell him every single word Joseph had said, but honestly, seeing is believing. The moment he laid eyes on those fancy wagons, Jacob's entire spirit just completely revived.
Overjoyed and suddenly filled with this incredible new energy, Israel, which is Jacob's other name, declares, "Enough! My son Joseph is still alive." All his doubts just vanished instantly. He was absolutely determined. I must go and see him before I die. After all these years, this family was finally going to be put back together. As we wrap up this amazing story, I want to leave you with a huge question to think about. When someone wrongs you, will you choose revenge or will you choose the superpower of grace? Remember, Joseph's reconciliation with his brothers highlights the absolute necessity of grace over revenge. He chose love, and that choice saved an entire nation. So next time you find yourself in a conflict, remember Joseph and choose that amazing superpower of forgiveness.
Click the bell button, like, share, and subscribe.